Welcome to the most contentious webinar I've ever given in the history of webinars. I know you're all here, and I know you're all going to have an opinion on this topic. This is going to be a fun one today, kids, let me tell you. Welcome to Is the Star Schema Dead? I know. I want to address this before we even begin. This is probably seriously the most contentious webinar I've ever done. You don't know whether I'm saying yes or no yet, so just hold on. Don't get ahead of yourselves. But we're going to talk. Jeremy, I haven't seen you in forever, Jeremy. Where have you been? You haven't emailed me. Oh, you don't love me anymore? It's fine. We're going to talk about the Star Schema. And we're going to talk about whether or not it's dead or not. Okay. And I want you participating today, people, because this is a topic that we can all talk about. Here's what we're doing today. I'm going to tell you who the heck I am for those of you who don't know me, which, those of you who are not sure who the heck I am. Okay. Then we're going to talk about the Star Schema. Then we're going to do some overview and some additional resources and then Q&A. But again, I'm going to do the Q&A live as we're doing this, because I know you're going to have questions, comments, thoughts, opinions, etc. Notice there's no demo today. I struggled and racked my brain to come up with a demo for this presentation. Consider this presentation more of a TED Talk, okay? This one is a TED Talk. This is less of a hands-on demo kind of thing and more of let's talk about this. And I'm hoping that you all walk out of here today with some things to think about. And as you look, if you look at the chat window, Scott Felton, our wonderful sales director, owner, the dude who handles that stuff, he posted in there a link where you can get a follow-up meeting with him to talk about this more. 15-minute chat. Okay, just 15 minutes of your life, because I'm pretty confident a lot of you are going to walk out of here with thoughts and questions. Okay, so there's no actual hands-on demo in this one. All right, who the heck am I? That's me, Pat Powers. I've been with Senturus for 18 years this year. Okay, I started when I was 8, and if you believe that, you're my bestest friend in the world. Okay, I've been doing this for, what year are we in? 2023. So, geez Louise, this is my 26th year of data science, data analytics, data warehousing, data modeling, data, whatever term du jour you wish to give it this week. Almost 3 decades I've been looking at data. And as a matter of fact, when I just talked to somebody yesterday, and when I say that I actually do know what I'm talking about, sometimes I actually do. I know it's hard to believe, but sometimes I actually know what I'm talking about. I just successfully re-upped my certifications and badges for some products that we do. I am certified and knowledgeable in Cognos, Power BI, Tableau, but then the ancient ones, okay? Don't quote the ancient magic to me. I was there when it was written. I've done Actuate, Crystal, Hyperion, all of it. I also have certifications in Java, C++, databases, yada, yada, etc. This is me. And this is me. Thank you all for coming today. Now that I've stalled long enough and we've got a decent amount of people on here, we are ready to do it. And the very first thing is I want to know something from you. Okay, we're all going to go around the room and we're going to tell what you like to do on a first date and what your favorite ice cream flavor is. Oh, no, wait. That's for a different thing later tonight. Nope, what I want you to do is I want you to answer this poll. Okay? Where do your data sources come from for analytics? Where are you coming from for analytics? And I'm going to let people have a minute or so here. I'm going to watch that timer. And I'm going to challenge those of you who are answering with Star Schema. I really am. Because there's a lot of people that think they have a Star Schema when in fact they have a hybrid, because what they've got is they've got a transactional with a few materialized views pretending to be a star. And that is a hybrid. That is not a true star. Yeah, see, I'm watching those numbers change a little there. Okay, so transactional beat everybody out. Oh, nope, now it's neck and neck between transactional and star. All right, I'm going to end the poll. 10, 9, 5, 22, 13, Q. Okay. So the majority of you are coming in from transactional systems, which doesn't shock me in the very least. The 8% of you that don't know, I would wager that you probably are transactional or a hybrid. Very small percentage of you with wide tables, with OBT, something we're going to talk about today. When we got a larger percentage of flat files than I expected. 37% of you are using flat files, which is very interesting because that tells me that you may or may not, you're probably using something like Power BI or Tableau where you can easily upload these. A lot of folks don't realize that they can do that, and things like Cognos, and those that do are making their own data modules, which is great, but it's not a long-term sustainable way to do things. And I think you already know that. Okay. The ones I want to talk to here directly today are the transactional, star, and wide table people. You are the ones we want to talk about. Now, here we go. Here we are. You ready? We're 11 minutes into this. The big question of the day, is the Star Schema dead? Yes and no. Thank you all for coming. That was it. You're a wonderful audience. You've been beautiful. Hey, tip your waitress. Try the veal. Hey, I'm here all week, kids. I told you this was going to be a contentious meeting. I promised you excitement and adventure. Okay? I promised you that. The simple truth of it, yes and no. Okay? Yes and no. No, I'm not just going to leave you on that. Let's be serious for a minute. Here's the reality. If you are amongst that 56% of respondents who are still on a transactional system, a Star Schema is, for reporting, is absolutely 110% going to improve your analytics environment and your analytics capabilities. Okay, period. That's not a discussion. That's not up for debate. At the same time, today's modern technology, today's cloud-based systems, today's bigger, better, broader options, there's some new and exciting options out there. There's some things that they're not killing the star, but they're certainly giving you something new to look at. At the same time, those new and modern technologies, those come at a cost. And whether that cost is time or whether that cost is money, there's a cost. So if you're amongst that 56% of people that answered that poll a minute ago, for you, it's an iterative process. And we're going to dig deeper into these three scenarios. The scenario of a star versus a transactional versus a wide table or one big table, an OBT. And we're going to start talking about some of the pluses and minuses here. Okay. Especially those of you who are moving into a FinOps world. This becomes very, very important for those of you who are moving or considering doing things with a FinOps, of a FinOps nature. If you're trying to figure out your AWS spend, if you're trying to figure out all these other things, how that data is stored is going to become very important. Okay. And shameless plug, we have products that can help you. Our advisor team can help you with your FinOps needs. Okay. And Scott would be happy to get you talking and putting that in the right people. So, scroll up, click on that little 15-minute link with Scott, and have a nice day. All right. Let's talk about this for a second. 30 years ago, before some of you were even born, okay, before some of you were even thinking about anything, Ralph Kimball said, hey, we need a better way of doing things. Because 30 years ago, everything was pretty much a transactional. And no, I am not going to debate you on whether Kimball or Iman is better. We're not getting into that today. Don't even. All right. But 30 years ago, Ralph said there needs to be a better way, because for those of you who weren't around or didn't have to deal with these budgets 30 years ago, did you know that in 1996, a gigabyte of storage space was, about $12,000? Okay. Think about that. A gigabyte of storage space was $12,000. So there needed to be something better. There needed to be something faster. There needed to be something optimized for analytics. Okay. That's changed. If you want to do things on site, well, yeah, the hardware's much cheaper. I mean, give me a break. I've got, what is this? What is this one right here? I'm just going to pick the first one that's on my desk. This one is a 128 gig flash drive that I think cost me $6. Okay. That's like $1 million $1 million of 96 storage space. So yeah, on-site hardware is much cheaper. But what about the cost of maintaining things on site? What about keeping an IT department? What about keeping a data center? What about the disaster recovery plan? What about? So today, we've got cloud-based solutions that can be cheaper if you're analyzing your spend correctly, if you're watching your instances correctly, if you're reserving things properly, you can be cheaper. And depending on your schemas and depending on your design, they can potentially be faster. They truly can. At the same time, I'm going to stress it again. To get to that, what about all the on-premise data? What about all that data that you've been using? I know of one particular group in the utilities industry that has data, honest to gosh, going back to 1970. And they've got that all stored in a data warehouse. Are you going to move 50 years worth of data into the cloud? No, because then you're killing yourself. There's no point in it. Okay? Just because a buzzword says, move it all to the cloud. No. You still have a need potentially for on-premise data. And if you're using that on-prem data and you're using that for analytics, well, that's different. What is that on my window there? Which one is that? You. Aha. Yeah, I saw it, everybody. There's a little edge right there. It was driving me nuts. So you still have to deal with on-prem data. And again, if you're amongst that 56% of people that are here today that are on a transactional environment, for you, the star is not dead. The star is very much alive. Okay? And let's focus this. Now, this is where this topic becomes very contentious, and I want to narrow this down. First and foremost, I am not talking about the generic storage of data within an organization. I am talking specifically about those of you that are here to understand how to do analytics. Okay? You're here because you have reports that have to be built. You have visualizations that have to happen. You've got things that have to happen on a regular basis. That's what we're talking about. I'm not talking about your generic storage in your environment. I'm talking about a good model, a good foundation for report development, a good base for visualization creation, allowing, and here comes the big part, self-service analytics. Whether that self-service is giving somebody Power BI desktop, whether that self-service is opening up Cognos to allow people to do their own explorations, self-service. And those of you that are using flat files, you know how important that is. If you've got people that are doing their analytics from an XLS, you can't take in an XLS that's got 73 formulas to get one number that's linked to 4 other spreadsheets that's sitting on Donna's desk, and Donna takes a 2-week vacation and takes her laptop with her. You need a solution today. You need a solid foundation today. And for that, the Star is still very much an option, still very much alive and kicking. Why am I focusing on just analytics? Because we're talking about getting data out of different systems. One of the biggest issues that faced most IT folks and most organizations today is the issue of siloed data. Every department has their own thing. Every department has their own database. Phil in 1987 built a database on Access, and somehow, some way that has become the de facto standard for everybody to do their reporting off of for that department. Well, Phil's retiring next week. Now, what are you going to do? Okay. Are there any Phils on today? I got to make sure. Let's just check, make sure. No Phils. See, Phil doesn't even care anymore. Phil didn't even come today. So we need a good way of getting data out of all of these different systems. We need to see our key indicators. We need aggregation and summarization. We need a way to deliver visuals. And again, I'm going to stress it again. We need a self-service environment. This is the future, whether you like it or not. Anybody can go to Microsoft's site and download Power BI right now. Anybody. Okay? They can start doing this stuff on their own. Why don't we make sure that we've got data governance in place, and why don't we make sure that we've given them something that's appropriate to do that work? Okay, before I go to the next slide, I've been talking for 20 minutes here. How's everybody doing? Y'all okay so far? Come on, somebody throw me one question. Somebody tell me you're alive out there. I'm talking to myself in the dark here. We doing okay, kids? Yes, we're not bad. Okay. Really? Nothing? What, just one question? Do we have questions turned on, right? Oh, Steve, thank you. So actually, unfortunately, my cat is not doing better. My cat is still very sick. They had an issue this morning and they're going back to the vet on Wednesday, and we don't know the results of how it's going to be. And I just learned that this morning. Okay. Vladimir. That is one of the biggest challenges you're going to face, is how do we get Phil off of Excel? That is an excellent, outstanding question. And that is something, the way that we get Phil off of Excel is we give Phil a system that actually works. We give, think about this. And let's go to the next slide on that. And Jennifer, of course I am. Next community day is coming up, you know. Hey, anybody wants my Pokemon Go trainer code? You can have it. All right. These are important things. All right. Veljko, when I'm talking about self-service, I'm talking about, if I'm looking at Cognos, I'm talking about letting people use the dashboarding capability. using the stories functionality, using explorations, where you give them a package that is narrowed down to what they need. And that's very important between a star and a wide table. When we give them very, very tailored models and packages to work from, whether it's a Power BI data set or a Power BI data mart, which is finally moving out of preview, which I will be doing more than likely next month. Be talking about Power BI data marts. So we give them Velchko. That's how we do it. We give them very tailored, tight things that work. Okay. Vladimir, that's how we get Phil off of Excel. You cannot give somebody a transactional database, which that was the next slide. You cannot give somebody a transactional database and expect them to be able to do self-service on their own when, heck, the most they might have is a data dictionary. They're definitely not going to have an ERD to work off of. Okay. And try to figure out what AR32 $FX is. This is where we're talking about things. So how do we get, is the star schema dead? If you're on a transactional, heck no. No, it's not. Because you cannot report off of this with any kind of good performance, with any kind of self-service, within. I know that this is going to ring true for some of you. Those of you out there who are writing reports today, I would wager very heavily you've got at least one set of data that you work with where, well, first I have to pick the department and then I have to pick the date range that then I also have to filter down for a particular group. And if I don't do that, it takes 10 minutes to run the report. But if I filter those first three things first, then it's great. But I also have to write my own custom SQL to put into the report. So that way I can do these joins between these. And that way I can make sure that it's an outer join. And then I'll go ahead and I'll union that together. And I know that for some of you, that sounds familiar, that sounds like a typical day of report writing. And Velchko, that's what I'm saying. When you cannot give that to somebody, you cannot give that to Donna in HR and say, Donna, go do your own analytics. Oh, but by the way, you have to learn how to write SQL and you have to figure out what a full outer join is. Oh, and by the way, there's no referential integrity on that table. So we give them a star. This is how we go in steps. How do we manage that budgetary and time constraint? We go in steps. If you are here, we need to get you here. This is going to change your life. It truly is. It's going to change your life because now I can start seeing my data. I can break it out. I can do an inventory data set that I can give to the folks and that I can give to Phil to do the inventory reports. I can do a sales data set that's a 90-day rolling. I can't do that here. Okay. So go from here to here. Is the star schema dead? Not if you're doing analytics and coming from transactional. All right, but what about the 55% of you that are already here? Where do you go? Where's your next step? We're getting there. I promise you we're getting there. Okay. And thank you all for those questions. Okay. I hope you're enjoying this so far. One question you might ask is, how did I get here? My God, what have I done? No, wait. You might ask yourself, where do I do all this? Where do I put this? Where does this go? That's something that is going to depend on your environment. It's going to depend on your budget. It's going to depend on what you've got available to you, because you can model these things in different places. Always remember our goal. Our goal is to allow for analytics and reporting and visualization delivery. We're going to put this where it needs to go. We're going to go from source or sources to ETL to a large repository to the tool. We need to figure out where this goes best for our analytics. And for some of you, that might mean having to build a star within the tool. You might have to build a data module in Cognos. You might have to use Power Query Editor to transform the data yourself. You might have to. Okay? You may not have the option or the luxury of doing this upstream. It's always best to push as far upstream as possible. But if you don't have that luxury, you do what you can. In pretty much every one of our reporting authoring classes, we stress this time and time again. We have modeling classes that show you, okay, how do I build a model in Cognos? How do I build a model in Power BI? We do it where we can. And that might mean, I'm going to go back for a second. That might mean taking this transactional mess and making it a star in the tool. Okay. And for that, the star schema is very healthy and alive. Okay. So where do we go next? Here's that iterative process. We start with the transactional. And if you've got a CRM, an ERP, if you've got anything where you're inputting data, you got a transactional. Whether you like it or not, you've got one. I promise you. Okay. So we move that to dimensional. Do we do it upstream? Do we do it in the tool? Don't care as long as we've got one. Because that's built for the output of table. Okay, but now Velchco wants to go to self-service, and Velchco wants to build just a customer sales package that can be given to just a customer sales associate team. Here's where the star starts to show its age and starts to show its shortcomings a bit. That's when we want to start considering moving things to a wide table. We want to start considering moving things to an OBT, a one big table. Here's where we're starting to move that data into the cloud so that we can distribute it to everybody in the organization. Remember what I just said 5 minutes ago. One of the biggest challenges faced by a majority of IT people is dealing with siloed data. If we can get a wide table and we can publish that to our Power BI service, then it's a very specific, tailored, narrowed down data set. And it is a rolling data set. It is a 12-week, it is a 12-month, whatever we need for our business users. A wide table may be the right way to go. Because now we've got better performance a lot of times. Because we're essentially going, it's a little bit weird to understand and go backwards though, because you're thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute, you just told me to break everything out into dimensions, but now you're telling me to put everything back into a single table. Yeah. But the difference between doing it here and here is that a wide table is focused. A wide table is narrow. It's narrow in its scope. And it's focused on building that one report you need to get out every single month to that one group of people. Okay. When you go to that though, time, money, data security, those of you who don't have a good data governance plan in place, you're moving here, you better get one, and you better get one now. If you're going to move all this data out to a cloud-based solution, you better know who has access to what and what they should or shouldn't see. Okay. The minute we move from on-prem, the minute we go from there, we've got more things we have to worry about. And again, I mentioned FinOps a minute ago. A lot of groups are now finding out the importance of having a FinOps team somebody who's not solely IT, somebody who's not solely business, but somebody who can have the control and the data governance and can take care of this. And taking that data, taking that FinOps data and putting it into one big table so that we can manage and do analysis just on that, that's a great way to go. So it's iterative. We got to get off of this. That's not a question. But it's going to be a real challenge to try to jump from transactional to wide table. Why? Because we don't know what we need. This intermediate step of moving it to a star lets us break things out into the dimensions that we need to start identifying what we want to do for reporting. Because if you try to go from a transactional straight to a wide table, and you take everything that's in your transactional and you move it to a wide table, no. You're in just as bad of a position as you were before. And that is coming from actual folks who've tried to do that. I was just talking to one of our consultants that they had somebody who basically took their transactional data, dropped it into a wide table, and saw worse performance. Because they never took the time to identify what dimensions do we actually need for reporting? What measures do we actually need for reporting? We've got 34 measures in there, but we only report on 6 of them. What time frame do we need? Our transactional goes back to 1975. Well, this is going to sales reports that only have to be 24 months. Okay. So trying to jump from here to here, please don't. And this is where the star maintains its need and it maintains its ability to still exist. Because even if we're just using it as a business tool to identify our dimensions and to identify what we're trying to work with, it's still worth it. About halfway through, give or take, chime in again. Pulse point. We all good out there still? We doing okay?
Yeah, I stubbed my toe on the way in, but otherwise I'm okay.
Okay. And Velchko, you're still here. Did I give you some things to think about there? Did I help define self-service for you? And Vladimir, did I hit my toe. Okay. I'm just seeing if you're all awake, man. That's all I'm doing. All right. I got X number of people on here. I got to know if you're still awake. Mark, excellent question. Mark asked if a data mart and a wide table has a similar solution to solve security and specific reporting needs. Excellent question. So Mark, if I'm looking at a true data mart by the Kimball definition would be a subset of your data warehouse, right? It would be the same thing. So yes, in some degrees, a wide table and a properly sliced data mart could act as similar solutions. What's going to differentiate that, in my opinion, is whether I'm doing it on-prem or cloud, and whether I'm doing it for a larger group or if I'm doing it for more tailored self-service. Okay, because if I'm building a package or a data set that I want to give to the report development team, I'm more apt to use a data mart with on-prem data because it may cover more business areas, whereas I would move to a wide table to slice that data mart down even further and move it to a cloud. Yes, you're right. And that's what I say. So that is why next month we are going to talk about data marts in Power BI, because you're right, because it's after 9 months, it's coming out of preview very soon. And so, yeah, we're going to talk about data marts in Power BI for exactly that reason. Okay. So Carolyn, OBT, something similar to process data in a data lake. This is where the terms start getting messy. This is where, you start throwing marketing terms in there where we're saying data lakes versus data oceans versus data warehouse. Yes, an OBT would be more synonymous in that respect because it is a lake of data. It's a wide table. I'm trying to keep the terms less marketing oriented. That's why we have people like Scott here. If you want to talk marketing stuff, Scott will jump in and help you anytime. Okay. And remember, we have marketing to thank for big data. There is no such thing. There's no such thing as big data. And Mark, you say about the business users and data marts. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And that is, again, for me, the distinction is whether I'm doing it on-prem or I'm doing it in the cloud. Okay. If I'm using the gateway in Power BI and I'm going to some legacy system that's sitting in a warehouse somewhere, I would do it as a data mart. That's how I would approach the situation. Okay. Everybody good? Mark, you good? Carolyn, good? At least for now. Come next month, Mark, and we're going to dive deep into the data mart situation. Okay. So here's a handy dandy chart. Okay. So Carolyn, an AWS-DA scenario, now we're talking wide table for the most part. Okay. We're talking wide table. And then again, if you're talking about doing something like that with FinOps or anything along those lines, yeah. You're absolutely right. Everybody likes handy dandy tables. This is a quick way to see everything I've been talking about today. Look which one has the least amount of check marks. Get off of a transactional system. The 56% of you that are still in this column, get here. If you're already here, let's talk about this. Let's narrow it down. Let's figure out which business areas you have would benefit for this. Okay. Let's figure it out, because notice the one check mark contains full depth and width of data. No. And it really shouldn't. Not if you're trying to get the best and most performance out of this. All right, Mark, I think you're going to like the next slide. This is from Microsoft's site. As of February 2023, 2/27/23, understand Star Schema and the importance for Power BI. It's literally from Microsoft's site. So your vendors, your tool vendors, IBM, Microsoft, Salesforce, they're still going to tell you you need to be on a Star Schema. And they're going to, this article right here, if anybody is interested in reading that article, I'm going to copy and paste the link to that article in the chat window. Okay. That is as of 2/27/23, less than a month ago. If you need any more proof, if you need any more validation that a star is important for analytics today, here it is. Because when it comes to reporting, you're going to have better accuracy than a transactional. Then one of the biggest problems with transactionals is you're not getting the same aggregation. You're not able to summarize. You don't have the same type of join situation. So look, when we move to transactional as star, we're adding referential integrity. We're eliminating redundancy. We're, no matter what the technology is, no matter how far this is advanced, whether it was 30 years ago or whether it's today, our biggest cost in any query is the joins. It just is. Okay. That is our biggest cost. So if we have successfully identified our business needs, if we have successfully identified our true dimensions and measures that are needed for reporting, moving to a wide table can improve on that, because now, once again, we've reduced that cost of joins. But we can't get here. We can't get to here until we've gotten away from here, because we need to identify those things first. We need to know what we're looking at. One of the biggest problems that a lot of companies encountered when they first started trying to move into these larger data warehouses is that they felt they needed everything. I need to know everything about everything. No, you don't. You really don't. Stephen Few has a great book on that called Noise. A lot of what you're taking in truly is noise. So if you want to get to a wide table, you got to get the noise out of there. And going from a transactional to a star will help you get the noise out of there. Okay. It'll help kill the noise. You know, in the 90s, they told us to bring the noise. Well, now we're killing it. All right. When we start moving into these other options, a star or a wide table, we definitely start getting more flexibility. Transactional systems can be very locked in. You know, you might have to call up somebody that gets paid a lot more than most of us on here. Somebody who's going to get $300 to $500 an hour to come in and change one field for you, because they're the only ones that know what AR32FX $net is. When you're doing this yourself in a star or a wide table, you've got more flexibility. A star is going to take up less disk space than a wide table or a transactional typically, because again, we're putting things in, we're reducing redundancy, we're putting things into dimensions. Now, you could in essence end up with less space on a wide table if you are narrowing it down as well as you should. Okay. And the last one, and the contentious one, performance. Those of you on a star, there is potential for performance improvements when you move to a wide table, if that wide table is well designed, if that wide table is narrowed for the focus of reporting. For those of you who are familiar, Fivetran did some testing, and what they found in their testing with the data set was taking it from a typical star schema to a wide table and doing analytics. What they found in subsequent runs of that data set, Redshift showed 25 to 30%, Snowflake 25, and BigQuery 50% performance improvement. Okay. So there is an opportunity for performance. And again, this was done by Fivetran. And this was done late last year, but not too long ago. And you can see that because we're getting rid of those joins. We're caching things better. We're minimizing joins. We're getting our better improvement. But again, versus a transactional, the star's still going to be better. All right, we're coming up on the end of this. So let's wrap this up a little bit. So is it dead? No. If you want to start moving into a wide table, they're going to be best for things like prototyping, speed to market, or in my opinion, hybrid situations. Okay. They're going to allow us to have the best of both worlds, maintaining our on-prem so we can maintain our data governance, maintaining how we're doing, but starting to move these things out so that people can start doing more self-service, getting things focused. Yes, Google BigQuery, Redshift, Snowflake, those are examples of wide table. Those particular types of technologies. For the time being, especially those of you still on transactionals, those of you still primarily on-prem, a Star Schema is going to be the most comprehensive. It's going to give us that full breadth, depth, width. It's going to give us something that's going to give us better performance. Okay. And it's going to give us a much, much better user experience than our transactional will. Sharjeel, so if I'm building a one big table, that goes back to that earlier slide. Where you put it is very dependent upon your organizational structure. Your only choice may be to do it in the tool because you may not have the ability to change your upstream databases. You may not have the time or the money to build a whole brand new database somewhere. You may not have, right? So it's going to depend on that. Peter, I am promoting having a hybrid. To be quite honest, I am. At the end of the day, what I'm saying to all of you is, look, first off, plain and simple, get off of a transactional system. You want to move forward, you want to move things to the cloud, fine. But make sure you're coming from a Star that's been built on your on-prem data. And those things that you don't have good data governance over, or those things that require a broader audience, let's get those in a Star now. And then use that to start identifying those self-service modules that we can narrow down that would be appropriate for a cloud-based big table. So that's more what I'm saying there. I want you to see this as an iterative process. Identify your business needs, identify what's going on. Vladimir, your question is one of the biggest cruxes and why this topic, we had to talk about it. For everybody, I want you to hear this question. How do I win the argument with all the other voices, including we rely on transactional, to get the best mix across the organization? The most dangerous words at any corporation, any organization, I don't care what your business is. Okay? That's the way we've always done it. Those are the most dangerous words. One of the best ways, Vladimir, to do this is to have somebody at that senior or executive level who's able to drive this from the top down. That is the hands down best way to do this. But I know that that's not going to happen for a lot of people. And that's where we can start maybe doing some of these wide table prototypes. If we can start showing them, if we can show performance improvements, if we can show ease of self-service, then we'll start winning them over. But that also is what you deliver to them. Hey, check out this dashboard I built. Hey, check out these visualizations. Hey, look at how fast I can get you to results. Look at this analysis I was able to do from this Star Schema. And in some cases, that might take a skunk project. But that's why we've got people like Scott, who you can set up a meeting with, who will be happy to talk to you about that and happy to come in to help be your argument. Okay? That's what we do. That is why we are here, because, hey, if you want more of that, we can demo these products for you. We can show you on our website. We can have meetings with you. We've been doing this for decades. We're ancient. We're old, okay? We sit around and play poker with the Crypt Keeper. We're old. You kids today, you're on your tiki-talkies, and you no, right? This is how you win the argument, Vladimir, is you let us help you put together a presentation and a demo. Okay. Yes, you're absolutely right about fighting the financial constraints argument. And that is why step one, okay? Step one, move off of a transactional. Start with that. Show them the KPI. Show them. Okay. Peter, I don't know about wise. I'm sure there are many people who would disagree on my wisdom level. Okay. Ask these people who've known me for 20 years, right? Wisdom, eh. But we can help you guys, okay? We've also got some good resources. Honestly, there's some great resources on our website. Look, I did not ignore your question. I knew this slide was coming, so I waited to it. You want to know how Snowflake works? Here you go. We've got a white paper on it. You want to talk about how to get rid of your traditional ETL to move these things? We got white papers on this stuff, people. Go to senturus.com/resources. That's your demo for today. So in final summary, for analytical purposes, our star is still our best first step. Transactional and even OBT can be limited. So Peter, that's going to your point that there is a need for a hybrid. Okay. The two things that we really can't necessarily focus on are cost and performance in some respect. Cost, definitely. We're not looking at $12,000 for a gigabyte of storage, but the performance one, if you're already moving towards a better solution, they definitely mean less today than they did 30 years ago, but you can't disregard them, especially if you're looking at the maintenance and everything else. Okay. All right, here it is, wrap up time. Additional resources. Hey, at Senturus, we provide hundreds of free resources on our website and our knowledge center. Yay! Go to our website, look at all this stuff. Give Scott a call. We've been committed to sharing our BI expertise forever and ever. Those of you who are Cognos people, join me March 22nd. When is that? Oh, that's next week. Join me next week. We're going to be doing an open roundtable session where you're going to ask me everything you wanted to know about Cognos reporting. March 30th, we're going to talk about bringing Cognos data into Power BI or Tableau. April 19th, I'm going to be doing Power Query Editor for data cleansing, which will help you with some of this modeling stuff. April 6th, I don't know who's doing that one, but we're doing a data integration options. Okay. So more. We're here. We've got all this. Come talk to us. We concentrate on BI modernizations. We've got a full spectrum of services. We can train you in Power BI, Cognos, Tableau, Python, Azure, whatever you need to get to your bimodal BI and migration. All right. We really do shine in that hybrid space. We really do. So if you're looking to migrate, if you're looking to move, please, that's where we excel. We've been doing this for over 20 years. 22 years, 1,400 clients, 3,000 projects. Leverage us. And if you're lucky, you might get me. We'll see. If you would like to be part of this wild and wacky team, we're looking for a managing consultant and a senior Microsoft BI consultant. Send your resume to jobs@senturus.com. Tell them I sent you. I'll split whatever money I get with you half. Okay. We'll have a FinOps consultant who'll be part of our new cloud cost management product and practice. Ooh, fancy. Lastly, I think I answered all the questions. Okay, I think I got everything. I don't have a first name, so I'm just going to say A. Sodi asked one last question here. How can a star schema be wider and deeper than the transaction system? That I got 1 minute. I'm going to answer that really quick. Most transactional systems are specific to a particular business area. They are your ERP, they're your CRM. A proper data warehouse built into a star schema takes data from all areas. It's your inventory system. It's your budget system. It's your customer management system. It is typically something that's come from many, many systems, and it is a true warehouse of all of your data. So therefore, it can be wider and deeper than the transaction system from which it's sourced, because that warehouse is the culmination of multiple transactional systems. And on that, I've answered all the questions in the chat. Not necessarily. It's a single star schema with conformed dimensions connecting multiple fact tables that through an ETL process has been put into a single schema. There's nothing that says you can't have a sales and inventory in the same data schema. It's multiple stars, but it's a single schema with multiple facts and conformed dimensions. We're nitpicking over terms, but all right. Thank you all for coming. 3 o'clock on the dot. Have a wonderful rest of your Thursday. You're all beautiful. Get the heck out of here. Enjoy the rest of your life. Thank you all.